Then people say to me, I understand what you're saying here. What good does it do if I change and no one else around me changes? What good does it do if I remember compassion in my life, if I become compassion, if I remember no hate in a world that has learned to hate in the past, or if I remember no fear in a world that has learned to fear in the past? Well, to help understand what good that does, I have a short video clip that I'd like to show you. In the science of chaos theory, there is a mathematical equation that defines the point where order and chaos merge. It's a membrane where order and chaos come together. And until recently, it was a nebulous theoretical point. And with the advent of high-speed computers, now we're able to plug the mathematical formula into these computers and create an image, a picture of what this image actually looks like. We call the resulting image the Mandelbrot set. Your life is holographic in nature. I know that you know that, and I know you've heard that many times. I'd like to take a few moments and pausing in this video to explore precisely what that means to you, your life, and your relationships, your emotions, and your feelings. Every emotion, each feeling, each response that you choose to any given situation affects every other person on this earth to some degree. That's the beauty of the holographic model. That's the power in compassion. Together, let's explore the nature of this relationship through an image that researchers are calling the Mandelbrot set. What you're seeing on your screen right here, this is an image of a mathematical point that is called the Mandelbrot set. It is a point in chaos theory where order and chaos merge. And where they come together, that point may be defined mathematically. As we feed the mathematics into computers, this is the graphic equivalent of that boundary between order and chaos, the Mandelbrot set. Now, the reason I use this image to describe this concept is because this is a very good example of a hologram. One definition of a hologram may go something like this. In a hologram, the whole pattern is whole and complete unto itself, and if you were to take any little portion of this whole out and examine it closely, you will see the entire pattern repeating itself again and again and again. This is the way the Mandelbrot set works. This entire image is called the Mandelbrot set. And as you'll see around the periphery of the Mandelbrot set, you'll see many, many other little patterns. These are all little Mandelbrots. Now, we're going to use the power of our computer to take us into this image. We will zoom into the image, and you'll see that as we zoom into this image, the pattern repeats itself again and again and again. And this is where the beauty of the holographic model becomes apparent. As it goes like this. Anywhere in this pattern, if we were to change one little aspect on any one of these little holograms, on any one of these little Mandelbrots, that change would be reflected throughout the entire system. Every place where you saw this pattern would reflect that change, no matter where in the system we place the change. Our consciousness works that way. To the degree that you allow yourself to remember the gift of compassion, to remember the option of no hate and no fear in a world that has learned to hate and fear. To the degree that you allow that in your little piece of our universe, to some degree that change is reflected throughout the entire pattern of our universe because we are holographic in nature. Well, let's explore this relationship together as through our computer we allow the computer to take us deeply into this model. There's our Mandelbrot set, and you can see that we are zooming into a complete portion, very specific portion of this set, and notice all along the periphery, all along the edges of the pattern, you see many, many, many Mandelbrot sets. As you listen to the music from this, it's almost a meditation as we move into this powerful pattern, the model that represents our consciousness. You see all the little Mandelbrot sets lining up side by side. Any change in any one of those sets would be reflected throughout the entire pattern, throughout the whole. There's something very interesting that will happen as we move farther and farther, deeper and deeper into the innermost regions of this pattern. And we see the pattern repeat itself over and over again. We're moving to an end point. And as we reach this end point, what you will see is that we end up with precisely the same pattern that we began with. Your relationships work in this manner. Your life works in this manner. The patterns are with you no matter where you go, no matter how far deeply into your life you move, or how far you attempt to remove yourself from the patterns of life. You are holographic in nature. No matter where you move to, what part of the world, what part of the country, no matter how many relationships you move into or out of, how many friendships you choose to initiate or complete, the patterns of your life remain the same because they are holographic in nature. And now you see, as we approach the end of the lifetime of this mathematical equation, this mathematical model, what we are completing with is precisely the same thing that we began with, the Mandelbrot set. No matter how deeply into this pattern we would move, if we were to begin once again now to look deeply into this pattern, we would see precisely the same thing happening again. We would see precisely these little Mandelbrot sets, one after another, again and again, reflecting in each of them, respectively, the pattern of the whole. There's a story that was recorded in the journals of the Spaniards when they came to this country to explore the New World, as they were exploring new paths of possibilities of how to get to this world, of a meeting with an indigenous tribe in the southern tip of Africa, with a tribal shaman who had never seen white men before, who had never seen the ships and the canvas sails before. And when the shaman, in his language, communicated to them the question, where did you come from? And as the Spaniards pointed to their ships out on the sea, the tribal shaman looked at them and he said, "What ship?" Because even though his eyes were looking at the patterns of large wooden planks and the large canvas sails, they were so foreign to his expression of life, they were so foreign to his framework of reference, that he could not recognize those patterns. And he was fascinated by this. And the shaman began to work with this, and he said, you know, if I play with this pattern, if I squint my eyes a specific way, I think I'm beginning to see something. And although that's interesting, the really interesting thing is this: it wasn't long before his entire tribe was able to see those ships, even though they were not on the shore with him. Why? Why did they learn to see differently, even though they weren't on the shore having the same experience that he had? The answer to that is what we call collective resonance. And it is through collective resonance that you and I have the opportunity, through compassion. It doesn't take many people in compassion to allow a change in the whole. That's the gift of the hologram. That is the gift of your life and the expression of your life in this time in history, just a few short years before the time that the ancients called the shift of the ages. Through the Mandelbrot experience, through the holographic nature of our experience, every time you remember that to hate is an option and that you have a higher option, that to fear is an option and that you may choose a higher option, each time you remember that, to some degree, you become the living bridge in the holographic nature of our awareness, anchoring that option, anchoring that wisdom for all who have the courage to follow you. That's your gift. That's your opportunity.